Upon Zani's release, I was really skeptical about her companion quest, but after playing it and understanding her character, I think she's probably my favourite character in Wandering Ways right now. And I basically want to do this video analysing her characteristics, her character design, basically telling you what I think about this character, because I really love this character. So first, let's start with the characteristics. Zani's characteristics is quite simple. Her personality, she's a workaholic, not an alcoholic, a workaholic. She works for the Montelli Bank. She's kind of this bodyguard type figure. She always steps in when she's needed to, but because of that, she never gets a chance to take a break. And if you can see the bags under her eyes, she's overworked, and that's not by anybody else's choice, that's for her own choice. Another thing that's quite unique about Zani's character design, upon her awakening into her resonator powers, she gained a slim-like tail and a ram-like horns that kind of picture her as this like demonic type creature when she's not. It's just they appeared when she resonates, because every resonator's body reacts differently to how they gain the powers. Another thing that is quite interesting about this is that Zani's resonator's powers kind of have like two different stages, and I'm going to get to that later on. Zani, in her like normal attire, she fights with a shield, which I thought was a really interesting choice of weapon, because I thought Zani was going to be a hand-to-hand user, which she is, but she mainly fights with this like kind of mechanical type of shield that stores energy. And during her resonator awakening, when you use her ultimate, she removes her tie, she wraps it around her wrist, kind of like a bandages, like how fighters wrap their wrists, and her clothes kind of rip, and you can see all glowing, her hair's glowing, her horns are glowing, her tail's kind of on fire, and her marks all over her skin, her battle scars are glowing red. And that's because her main resonator ability, that is to store kinetic energy, and basically when she's in this form, all the kinetic energy is released and she goes all out. And during this, her personality kind of switches and she becomes aggressive, she becomes frustrated, she becomes angry, because she feels like she's working overtime, she feels like she's working when she shouldn't be. So that's where kind of like she's just had enough, she wants to go all out and she wants to end you as soon as possible. And I think that's quite interesting, and I'm going to get into it later on how I think this fits into her character well, but Zani's kind of personality is very intriguing to me, and the way it switches between this kind of laziness that she doesn't want to be in work, to where she loves her job, to where she just is frustrated and she wants to kill you. And Zani kind of has three different mood types, and I think it's quite interesting. And out of all the characters in Wandering Ways, Zani feels like the character that has the most relatability, because everybody's had that job where they don't want to be there, but it pays really well, so they love it technically. But Zani is the definition of just, she's dealing with it, and I think it's a great kind of relatability to this character, and I love it personally. Another thing I want to talk about with her characteristics is her fighting style. Her fighting style is quite interesting because she fights with a shield and she bashes into the opponent a lot, but her shield also transforms into a greatsword. So during her like attacks and stuff, her sword turns into a greatsword and she starts swinging it. She can parry with it, and then during her awakening, she goes all out. She doesn't make it turn into a shield again. She just kills you with it, which I think is quite interesting, is because she's no longer worrying about your safety anymore. She just wants to murder you. And I think having a shield and a greatsword in one is a really interesting choice of weapon, and I think it's kind of relates to her characteristics as well. Like, she's a bodyguard, but when she needs to do the job, when she needs to get it done, she can just change her shield into a greatsword and kill you. That's just how it is. One thing I want to get into briefly is her kind of backstory, where she was basically on her own all the time. She had to fight to survive, and she was never really, well, she never really relied on anybody. She relied on herself to get the job done. And I think it shows that in her companion quest in the Black Alley, when she was worrying about this child basically being extorted by this gang. Zani relates to that, is because all that child is trying to do is survive. When it comes to other people doing like bad things, like stealing from the bank or stuff like that, she speaks to him in a lot more like aggressive tone. But when it comes to people that she can relate to, she kind of softens up. She kind of relates to them and kind of understands where they're coming from and does everything she can to help them, which I think is quite cool and interesting. One more thing I want to get into is kind of the references with clocks with Zani. before I move on to the other thing I want to talk about. Zani's whole design that I've noticed has a lot of things to do with mechanics and clocks. Her weapon, her special weapon that comes with her banner, they are basically clocks, the mechanical clocks on her fists. Her shield is full of mechanical clocks. When you do her ultimate in her blazing form, it has a clock that says basically 11 o'clock on it. There's a lot of things around Zani that represent clocks. Because I think what she's trying to do is she's basically timing herself to clock out on time. And basically when she uses her ultimate and she uses her ultimate in a blazing form, she's done. She wants to clock out, she wants to go to bed. That's basically how I see it, but I don't know if that's true or not. I think that's quite cool. And I love the references with clocks as well, because in one of her descriptions for her like special items is that there was an incident where she was late on like a job and someone got really badly hurt. So she always carries around a pocket watch on her to time herself to make sure she's always on time, make sure she's always in the same routine, which I think is a really cool added aspect to her design. I think it's quite interesting. The other thing I want to get into about Zani, now that I've covered her characteristics, is her personality. I know I covered it briefly in her characteristics, but most parts of her personality represents the 7 deadly sins. And there's 3 sins specifically I think Zani represents that I want to cover. Starting with sloth. If you don't know what sloth is the laziness, the desire to just do nothing and just rot in bed. Basically, it's just laziness. That's what sloth is, the sin of sloth. And Zani's laziness is very intriguing because when she's at work and she's always running around and stuff, she's always talking about vacations, she's always talking about break, and she's always drinking caffeine drinks. And even during combat, she's pulling out a chair mid-combat. And I think it's just, she takes herself seriously. Even though she's lazy, she tries to like kind of force it onto other people, basically airing out how she feels truly. But she's not going to go say that to like Carlotto now, is she? She's just trying to tell you her grievances and tell you how she feels, because that's what she is. She's lazy. Her eyes, her bags under her eyes, it's not because of anybody else's doing, it's because of her doing. She's just too lazy enough to ask for a vacation. She's too lazy enough to just relax. She's too lazy enough to just take a break. And this whole thing stems into her pride, and that's the next thing I want to cover is her pride. Zani is a very prideful character, and it kind of is a double-edged sword when it comes to her character, is that she's very prideful, but she takes her pride way too seriously, and that because she's prideful, she cannot let herself down, she cannot take a break, she cannot ask other people for help when it comes to certain scenarios, because she is paid to do something. And that it kind of shows when it comes to her whole vacation type thing she keeps asking for. It's because she wants a vacation, but she's always being given work. She's always taking on new jobs when she could just clearly say no. She's just too prideful to turn it down. And another thing that represents her pride as well is how she takes pride in helping other people. And this is kind of very interesting type of side to her, I think. And that's when Zani's in the, and she's in the Black Alley in her companion quest and she's helping all the people from drowning. She's taking very pride in their safety. She's focused, she's locked in. And I think that's very cool because it kind of just stems away from the fact is that she's a very caring person, but she will put other people before her. She will put her pride and people's safety above her, which is a very, very, very good gimmick in my opinion for her character. And the last thing I want to get into is Zani's wrath. And this is very, I wasn't actually sure if I was going to include this, but during the end of her companion quest, she has one of the best voice lines, like one of the best monologues I've seen in this game. And it really shows spite, it really shows anger, it really shows aggression. And that's basically, she does not give a fuck. If she has to murder you to make sure other people feel safe, she will. Just listen to this monologue, man.
Look at me, coward. No! Please! The strong prey on the weak. Isn't that what keeps the Black Alley running? What? Never been on the brink of death? Too weak to beg for mercy? Please! Have a savior! Shut up! Let me tell you, weakling. If you've lost respect for the law, then fear me instead. I'll be watching you. You can seek revenge or attempt another comeback. It doesn't matter. You will fail. I will make sure of it. Now, what do you say?
I give up.
This is one of the best monologues in the whole game, in my opinion, because it really shows that Zani does not care. She does not. She's been in the same situations before. It's survival of the fittest, and she wants to protect. And if you're going to come in the way of on the people she has to protect, she's going to kill you. And I think that is just a great detail to add to this character, and I love it personally. It's probably my favourite part about her, but tell me if I'm wrong about adding the Sin of Wrath to Zani, because I think it's kind of a hit or miss, depending on what you think, but I think it fits personally. And before I end off the video, I just want to talk about my thoughts on the character. I love Zani. I've loved her since her design got like kind of shown off at 2.0, and her Italian accent really sold me on her character, because I wasn't expecting it. And I will stand by what I've said before on Twitter, is that I love the dub for Wandering Waves. 1.0 was questionable, but 2.0, I like all the dubs more than I sub. I do. I love all the accents. I love the variety of different voice actors they have. I love it. I am kind of sick of hearing the whole don't get me wrong, I love Japanese VAs. I think for the Hoyoverse games, they're still better than the English ones. But the English VAs for 2.0 for Wandering Waves clears, in my opinion. It is so good. Props to all the voice actors that do the voice work for all the 2.0 characters. Before I end off, if I could represent Zani in the Arcana system of the Persona game, in my opinion, Zani would represent the Strength Arcana. Because she represents strength a lot. She is very strong, and that's her whole job. But she would also keep the peace. She would also make sure her strength is used for good scenarios that she believes is right. Even if she wants to kill you, she will be there making sure her strength is put to good use, and I love that. Don't get me wrong, the Persona Arcanas are weird to represent, especially Wandering Waves characters, but I think she represents the strength one the best. But yeah, guys, I just wanted to make this video. This is my first kind of character analysis type video on this channel, and I really enjoyed making this video. I really did. And if you guys would want more character analysis videos on like characters, it can be from any game that I've played, any kind of like character in Wandering Waves, if I have them. It can be whatever. But I will say this before I end off the video, is that I apologise for the lack of uploads. I did explain it in the stream, but I've been really ill and I've just gotten better. That's why I was streaming on Sunday, I mean. That's why I was streaming on Sunday, but I'm back now. Next week, we got big things going on next week, so stay tuned. But if you liked the video, make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you later in a bit. Peace.